State, 8/7 Central, ABC Saturday.
When we look at you, we look at murderers. We look at the people that have the face of a murderer.
A message left for area Muslims. Are menacing words and crimes of hate on the rise?
A word of warning and advice before your next trip to the mountain. Find out why problems on the road could get in the way of your snow day.
Plus, these tourists paid to see the bay from the sky. So how'd they end up in the water?
And chained to a tree may not be your idea of a fun Friday night, but this guy has spent about 8 Friday nights in his perch. We will show you why and why police now want him out. 11 minutes of nonstop news begins right now on 13 Inside Las Vegas. Good evening, everybody. I'm Tricia Kean.
And I'm Shawn Boyd. Ross and Cathy have the night off. The FBI has just released its stats on how many hate crimes happened in 2001.
But some experts say those numbers don't add up. 13 Inside Las Vegas reporter Khalid joins us live from the newsroom with how Southern Nevada factors into the problem. Kiran.
Well, Tricia, hate crimes seem to be on the rise after September 11th, most of them directed at Arab Americans. But Las Vegas Metro Police may have been the only ones to keep an accurate record. Tonight we spoke to a Muslim American who says even though his community was targeted as recently as this week, he still feels safe.
You people should be ashamed of yourself to be even called a religion. You're murderers. Islamic murderers, and you ought to be ashamed of yourself.
This was the message left on the machine at the Islamic Society of Nevada just 2 days ago.
And when we look at you, we look at murderers. We look at the people that have the face of a murderer. You guys are nothing but rotten murderers, and you're just creeping in this country. Something's got to be done about Islam.
Khalid says it's not the first hateful message his mosque has received, and he doubts it's the last.
We don't feel physically threatened by these kind of messages, and we understand this some kind of frustration. People just want to show.
Venting frustration is one thing, veiled threats another. But Khan says while other Muslim communities may live in fear, law enforcement has helped calm nerves here.
Whenever we have any kind of occasion, their presence is very, very prominent. And they have, passed this message very loudly that hate crimes cannot be tolerated.
Lee Plotkin with the National Conference for Community and Justice also credits Metro for being so responsive.
Clearly, the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department is doing their part to report these crimes, but there's no consistency statewide.
Now, Plotkin gives Reno as an example of that inconsistency. He says despite media reports to the contrary, there were no hate crimes reported in Reno. And he says until hate crimes are consistently reported, we will never know the full scope of the problem. Live from the newsroom, Khalid, 13 Inside Las Vegas.
Well, Kiran, did this mosque in Las Vegas report the message that was left on their machine to police?
They did, Tricia. They reported the message, and they also made a copy of that message. But surprisingly, Khan says that what he wants more than anything else is to reach out to that caller and educate him about his religion.
All right. Kiran, thanks for the latest.
Well, the annual Martin Luther King Jr. Parade will start tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. The parade route will run from 4th Street between Charleston and Fremont. 30 to 35,000 people are expected to be there. 4th Street will be closed, so expect some traffic delays.
A man trying to give his friend a helping hand last night is in the hospital with critical injuries. Here's what happened. A car ran out of gas near the Texas station last night. The passenger got out to push the car. That's when another car came by and hit him. The driver of that car, Michael Hinckley, was arrested for felony DUI. Tonight, the 27-year-old man who was hit is in critical condition at UMC. Inside the world now, last night we told you how North Korea had pulled out of the nuclear non-proliferation treaty.
Today, the Bush administration downplayed the situation, saying it plans to solve all of this without military action. The White House, it will solve this problem diplomatically, it said. Today, 2 North Korean diplomats met again with Arizona Governor Bill Richardson. He used to deal with North Korea when he was a UN ambassador.
We've discussed a whole host of issues, almost 7 worth. Hopefully, my talks will be positive, but it still remains to be seen.
Despite the diplomacy, Secretary of State Colin Powell says the United States will not be intimidated. Now remember, the president included North Korea in his axis of evil last year, and there are 40,000 troops stationed on the Korean peninsula. Powell says it's up to the UN to deal with the situation, but North Korea says any UN sanctions will be taken as a declaration of war. Inside the nation, in New York State, one of 6 men from Yemen accused of supporting al-Qaeda has pleaded guilty. Faisal Galab did so in a Buffalo courtroom today. Galab and the other 5 men were arrested last October. At the time, they all pleaded not guilty. Prosecutors say they provided money and resources to al-Qaeda. And thousands of Middle Eastern men lined up at immigration offices around the country this Friday. These men from 13 mostly Muslim countries were required to register with the INS by the end of today. The government says it's part of a plan to prevent terrorism. But many Muslims are afraid, and others say this plan will never work.
Terrorists are not going to come in and stand in line, spend 6 hours, and register. They're not going to do it.
Here in Las Vegas, there were no long lines, but volunteers from the Muslim community were there to make sure that anyone who did register was treated fairly. On Monday, registration begins for men from Pakistan and Saudi Arabia.
We're now getting our first look at the wreckage of that plane that crashed in North Carolina this week. Investigators are still trying to figure out why that plane crashed just after takeoff, killing all 21 people on board. The flight data recorder indicates that the plane had problems in the tail before the crash. Dozens of firefighters battled this apartment building fire in Chicago today. The thick smoke forced many of the people inside out. Some were treated for smoke inhalation, but there were no major injuries. Buses were brought in to keep the residents warm while they waited outside the building. Investigators think the fire may have started in the basement and then spread.
So how much is your finger worth? Any finger. A Michigan woman says hers is worth $100 million. The woman was arrested outside Detroit last Sunday. The officer who tried to arrest her couldn't get to her wrists to put her wrists in the cuffs. So he used a knife to cut the sleeve of her jacket, but he took off most of her finger with it, the ring finger. It couldn't be reattached, and the woman was never charged with any crime. Now she's suing the police department for $100 million in damages.
Well, think $100 million is a lot. Try $1 billion. That's how much Microsoft has to pay California to settle a class action lawsuit. California sued Microsoft for being a monopoly. Under today's settlement, consumers in the suit will get vouchers for laptop or desktop software, even some products that aren't even made by Microsoft. The settlement could also provide money and equipment for California schools. In all, 13 million people could benefit. Well, Las Vegas could face a difficult but ultimately successful 2003.
That's the word today from top gaming leaders. They're meeting for the annual conference of the American Gaming Association. Weighing heavy on their minds, the prospect for war with Iraq. Gaming leaders seem to agree that if the war is short and the U.S. wins a definitive victory, the impact could be minimal. They're also hoping that the nation's psyche will improve this year as well.
Right now, I think people generally feel a little down. They're coming off of a nice New Year's and Christmas season, and they're facing the potential of a war, which is obviously very bothersome to many people. And at the same time, they're questioning their own net worths when they take a look at their IRAs and their 401ks.
Terrence Lanny calls the tourism industry perishable. He says jobs depend on people filling our rooms, our hotel rooms, and visiting our casinos night after night. In business, he was known as tough. In the community, he was an humanitarian. Friends, family, and colleagues said their goodbyes to William Bennett today. Bennett was most famous for reviving the Circus and Sahara hotels. But those who came to his memorial service characterized Bennett as a family man and humanitarian, a man whose philanthropy led him to donate money to many, including UNLV and children. Governor Kenny Gwynn recalled the joys of being friends with his once neighbor.
A man like Bill should never be judged by his financial success, but he should be judged by his love and sharing of his success and how he did it with his family, his friends, and certainly the frail and the less fortunate.
Although Bennett was always ruthless in business, he was known to always abide by the highest moral code. William Bennett was 79. Well, the weekend's here, finally, and it might be fun to take the family up to Mount Charleston, possibly.
That's right, but if your next trip to the snow could be a very dangerous one. 13 Inside Las Vegas reporter Veronica Sanchez shows us how the lure of snow is making things tough for emergency crews.
It's Friday night, and the snow at Mount Charleston is beginning to fall. Rosina Andrade and her kids are taking advantage of it. They come up here every year.
This is the first time this year, but last year we came a couple of times.
5,000 other people also come up here during the winter time, and the NHP says that is a problem. Too many people at the mountain means too many cars and not enough parking for them.
So what do they wind up doing? Well, they wind up parking along the side of the road here on the pavement. Thousands of cars, and when there is an emergency, well, paramedics can't get through to where they need to go. That is dangerous.
Just continuing to get worse. So it's pretty bad, especially when an emergency goes down.
NHP says it's gotten so bad it's compromising emergency response at the mountain. Paramedics and troopers can't get through to save lives.
I would like them to get here as soon as possible, you know, as quick as they would if we were in the city.
Mario Camacho worries about his kid. If this little guy gets hurt at Mount Charleston, his father doesn't want emergency crews to get stuck. So, for those people who like to park illegally along Mount Charleston,
this is the warning. If we have another case where we can't get through, we're going to start towing.
Now, no one has died or been severely injured because of the slow response time at Mount Charleston. NHP troopers say they want to prevent that from happening with this warning. But if it is too crowded, their advice to you is just stay home because you will be a lot safer. Tricia.
All right, thanks. And Mount Charleston can only hold about 1,200 cars, but 5,000 vehicles are going through every weekend. That's putting a strain on traffic, so troopers want you to be prepared. Troopers say you should bring snow chains, extra tires, and plenty of food and water. That's just in case you get stuck in traffic or troopers have to close down the roads because of an emergency. Well, will there be any fresh snow up at the mountain tomorrow?
Hopefully. We'll see. Maybe the snowers, the skis, people and the snowboarders can get some snow. But Nate's in now with a quick look at the forecast. Hopefully, Nate, some snow maybe?
Oh, Shawn and Tricia, there's been some snow up on the mountain this afternoon. It's pretty much tapered off for now. Your No Wait weather says you don't have to wait till 20 after the hour to get the weather. We've got it for you right here, right now. Yeah, the little system is pretty much out of here. You know what you may wake up to? Check this out. We've got our magic drawing board here, and you may wake up to fog in the morning. We'll talk about that in just a few minutes, but in the meantime, we wanted to move on and give you what we think the temperature is going to be when you get up and at 'em. We're talking about 40 degrees with generally clear sky, but maybe some fog on the ground and generally light wind. We'll talk all about it with the weekend forecast in detail. Coming up on 13 Inside Las Vegas.
And still ahead, tonight at 11, it is back to court for former NBA star Dennis Rodman, and we're not talking about the basketball court. We'll explain. Plus,
what happened up there? I'm not sure.
One thing is for sure, this helicopter ended up in San Francisco Bay. Next, you'll hear from one of those passengers on board. We'll be right back.
What happened? I ordered 200 dachshund, but they sent us all these little wiener dogs. 200 dachshund. Are you on a cell phone, sir? Well, yeah. Static. Here. Now you can get clear calls and do more, because Sprint built the largest all-digital, all-PCS enhanced nationwide network from the ground up. For clarity you can see and hear. Thanks. Now this would have helped.
For $30 a month, get unlimited PCS Vision 300 and unlimited night and weekend minutes from Sprint.
13 Inside Las Vegas, brought to you by the Courtesy Automotive Group.
inside the West tonight, a sightseeing helicopter gave tourists a different perspective on the San Francisco Bay today. The chopper landed in the water with 4 passengers on board. Here's how one of them described what happened.
We just got started. We were going to take a tour of San Francisco Bridge, went under it. We're going to go back over it, and it just lost power, so we just started coming down.
I see. Any shouting, screaming, anything like that?
No. He kept us calm. He did a really good job.
The chopper was equipped with emergency pontoons that kept it from sinking. The Coast Guard pulled everybody out. No one was hurt. The pilot says there must have been some kind of mechanical failure.
In L.A., an army of police and firefighters took a tree sitter out of his perch. John Quigley had been in that tree since November 1st. He was trying to prevent it from being cut down to make way for a new road. The developer offered to move the tree, but Quigley and other environmentalists wanted to stay put. Tonight, police served Quigley an eviction notice, but he refused to budge. They just pulled him down about 15 minutes ago.
Dennis Rodman is in trouble again. Police arrested him at his home early this morning in Newport Beach, California. A woman claims that Rodman assaulted her. He's been charged with felony spousal abuse, which means that he and the woman either live together or have some sort of serious relationship. Right now, Rodman is out on $25,000 bail.
Las Vegas is a town where just about anything goes, but Clark County says it knows obscenity when it sees it. It ordered a company to remove a billboard for the Hard Rock Hotel. You may have seen it. Until yesterday, it was near the airport, showing a topless woman with a pair of strategically placed dice. Someone complained about it, and the county said the ad didn't meet its decency standards. The company took it down, but they say only because the Hard Rock's contract was up anyway. Yeah?
Well, speaking of which, a lot of conventions in town. The adult one, the CES, all the different ones.
The weather's not nearly so controversial.
Yes. No.
Although it was cloudy throughout the day today, people thought it might rain. We've had a little spit and drizzle, and that's really been about it. Shall we take a look outside?
Let's do it.
All right, we continue to talk about that possibility of fog that's developing throughout the area tonight. In the meantime, here are your 11 o'clock numbers. Stratocam looking at a little bit of haze in the air, and we're going to talk about that. 48 degrees at the top of the hour, and look at that humidity. That is one of the keys to the possibility of fog. Very high humidity, approaching 100%. The wind is not a factor right now, and the barometer is falling a little bit at 30.08. And before we move on, let's talk about the extreme weather, the hot spot and the cold spot for the nation today. We're going up to the border of the United States and Newfoundland, Canada, Holton, Maine, waking up to 15 degrees below zero. And here's a place that I'd never heard of, MacDill Air Force Base, which is right outside of Tampa and St. Pete. Close to 80 up there this afternoon. All right, before we close the door on January the 10th, let's look inside one more time and find out what our numbers were. We topped it out at 57, which is a couple of degrees cooler than we have been the past couple of days, but still 1 degree above normal. And we are at 48 right now. I'm pretty sure it's going to get down to like 47, 46 before midnight tonight. Sun gets up on your Saturday morning at 6:52, but it may be kind of a foggy one, and here's why. We're going to have the temperatures and the dew point very close to one another, which it sounds kind of too technical and too scientific. The bottom line is the humidity is going to be near 100%, so the atmosphere will be saturated. There's no place for that moisture to go then to condense and form a little cloud along the ground that we call fog. So be careful driving first thing in the morning, particularly in the outlying areas. 48 right now for Henderson, 50 for you guys up at Nellis. North Las Vegas, you're looking at a couple of clouds and 47. Summerlin, you're already down to 44, while the National Weather Service checks in also at 44. And we talked just a moment ago about Mount Charleston. It's icy up there. Adequate snow tires or chains not absolutely required, but certainly a smart idea for anybody up to the mountain. It's 26 up there. 40 from our buddy Steve Benson over the hump in Pahrump. 40s everywhere with the exception of Laughlin checking in at 55. And we're going to check into the nightcast for the rest of tonight. Yeah, the clouds are beginning to clear, but the overnight low of 40 and the dew point is going to be right around there, so that means good potential for fog. And then we're talking about sunshine. Going to be great weather for the parade in the morning. 62 our high tomorrow. Mount Charleston, the snow is clearing out. 21 in the morning and 41 in the afternoon. Lake Mead, still a shot at some showers, not only tonight, but possibly tomorrow. 64 the afternoon high and the overnight low 42. So bottom line, a pretty nice weekend ahead. Just be careful for some moisture in the atmosphere tonight. Looks like the daytime high temperatures will be climbing back to the low and the middle 60s and the overnight lows in the low 40s. You guys get out there, have a great weekend.
Oh, I'm so glad it's here.
There you go.
All right, have a good one, Nate.
Thanks.
Well, they get in your way. We're not talking about dice, but there is a way to stop them.
Yes, we are talking about those annoying pop-up ads on the internet. Still ahead, Contact 13 shows you how to get rid of them. But first, our picture of the day comes from the Consumer Electronics Show at the Convention Center.
All I do is talk normally, and now I sound like a girl. I can even
That's our own Dave Malkoff with a new karaoke machine that actually changes the pitch of your voice. We'll be right back.
I know it's sport the team, can't take direction, and my socks are never clean. Teachers hated me, my parents hated me.
Now, 13 Inside Las Vegas continues with Contact 13.
Well, safe to say, I think just about everyone hates those ads that pop up while you're surfing the internet.
I do. Ever wonder where they come from? Tonight, Contact 13 shows you what all those pop-ups are doing to your computer and how you can stop them.
Lillian and Christine Malia have just found something they didn't know was on their computer. It's the culprit behind all these pop-up ads they've been seeing.
There's one. Look at that.
Not only are these pop-up ads everywhere, but Mom's homepage mysteriously changes.
I logged on and it was something totally different.
How'd it happen? Spyware, also known as adware. It may be included in music or programs you download. It changes your computer settings, adding actual links to advertiser sites and sharing every move you make online with advertisers.
These adware components have the capability to monitor a computer user's every keystroke command.
Debbie St. Clair runs unwantedlinks.com, a site devoted to fighting spyware. She says there are over 900 different programs you or your child might download with spyware included. This is how it works. The spyware displays one of those license statements you usually ignore. This one says it will collect which web pages you view, what software you have, and take down your first name and your zip code. But sometimes you don't even get that warning.
Some of these things can be picked up just viewing a website. Just viewing a website.
Holy cow, what is that?
Fortunately, there's software to fight the spies. AdAware is one free program that seeks out spyware. What did it find on Lillian's computer?
130.
No less than 130 spyware files. Now the Malias will be on guard for the spies online.
So how can you reduce your chances of being spied on online? Well, here's the Contact 13 bottom line. Computer experts tell us people who download music and shareware or who do a lot of instant messaging are the most vulnerable for a spyware attack. Also, if your computer has slowed down lately, look for spyware consuming your machine's resources.
Well, some airlines are giving military personnel a break. You know it's expensive to change airline reservations. Well, Delta and Hawaiian Airlines are waiving those fees for people who have to change their plans because of military duty. Southwest says changing their tickets is already free. And if your airline doesn't waive the fees, the armed forces may be able to reimburse you. All right, stay tuned, folks. Sports is on the deck. On deck.
On deck.
Coming up next.
Stay with us.
Now 13 inside Las Vegas continues with the sports team and Ron Futtrell.
Well, the Lakers have hit a hot streak right now, winning 4 of their last 5 games. And with the way these Lakers are playing right now, I guess that would be a hot streak. Earlier this season, the Cavaliers beat the Lakers by 19, but tonight with Shaq on board, a different story. Kobe Bryant with a triple-double, 21 points on the night. Nice bounce pass from Robert Horry. Lakers win by 16 over Cleveland tonight. Okay, the Rebels are in Chicago this evening. They've got an 11 a.m. start against DePaul. The Rebels begin conference play next week, and as Dennis Evans reports, that makes this game all the more important.
The Rebels go into the Windy City this weekend with one final chance to tune things up before conference play begins next week.
I mean, we've seen so many different styles of play, and I think this league got so many different styles of play, so it won't be new to us.
The non-conference schedule has also helped the Rebels develop a winning style and a winning attitude, traits they hope will translate into wins in the Mountain West Conference.
I think we're going that way. I think that our conference is going to be really, really hard. I'm convinced that our conference, because we're not like the mega conferences that have 15, 16 teams, when you put that many teams in, there's always a couple people that drag things down. We don't have an easy game.
Yes, it's all work from here on out for the Rebels as they move into the games that really matter.
That's the main thing, is always pick up wins. And the coach said as long as we have like 10 wins in a non-conference, we should be all right. We have a good chance of going to the tournament. That's the main thing we're trying to do right now.
Dennis Evans, 13 Sports.
When he says tournament, he means NCAA tournament there, too, by the way. Okay, Andre Agassi is playing some good tennis to start the new season. He's in the finals of the warm-up tournament for the Australian Open. The Open actually begins on Monday. Andre is the number 2 seed there. The PGA Tour is also beginning its new season this week in Hawaii. Former Rebel Chris Riley continues to play well. He was 1 shot off the lead after round 1, and today in round 2, this great shot on the 9th hole. This would be for an eagle to tie Riley for the lead, and he gets it on the par 5. After 2 rounds, Riley tied for 4th is where he's at 11 under par, 6 shots behind Ernie Els, who is 17 under par, and sort of running away from the field is Ernie Els right now. But 2 more rounds left to play, and Chris Riley, nice way for him to start the season. Tiger is not playing in the season opening tournament because he's got a knee injury.
Too bad. He missed out on a trip to Hawaii, huh?
Yeah, I would imagine he could probably buy a plane ticket or 2 over there if he wanted to go. But
by Hawaii.
Yeah, really. So what about this weekend, Nate? Give
well,
it
we
to
are
us.
talking about some fog overnight. It's kind of unusual to happen in the Las Vegas area, so be careful. But then it's going to burn off and should be like low 60s tomorrow. A little bit warmer for you, Tricia. I know it's chilly for you today.
I know. All right.
But that's going to affect the snow up in Mount Charleston, right?
Absolutely. And icy up there if you're heading up to go skiing. So adequate snow tires change, a smart idea.
Take it easy. Don't rush it.
Yeah. Well, that does it for this edition of News 13 at 11. Thanks so much for joining us.
That's right. We'll see you back here tomorrow night. At least some of us will. Have a good weekend.
Yeah.